What comes to mind when you hear the word mold? Mostly bad things, right? But what if I told you that mold is responsible for a variety of the foods that we eat? One mold in particular that we'll be talking about today can be used to make things such as soy sauce, mirin, rice vinegar, and miso. But it's not necessarily the mold itself we're after so much as the enzymes it produces. Today's fermented project uses a microbe named Aspergillus oryzae, also known as Koji. Aspergillus oryzae is a white mold that can grow in a variety of grains and legumes such as rice and soybeans, and what you're seeing here is Koji that has grown on some cooked rice. Most people refer to Aspergillus oryzae or anything that has been inoculated with it as simply Koji. Technically, the culture itself, or the mold spores, is known as Koji kin, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll be referring to the mold and anything inoculated with it as simply Koji. And as briefly mentioned earlier, Koji's power comes from the enzymes it produces, which break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, transforming simple ingredients like soybeans into products like soy sauce or miso that have complex flavors and lots of umami notes. So let's get started and learn how to make some Koji. The first thing we'll need is 500 grams or about 3 cups of uncooked white rice. This will give us about a pound of Koji when we're done, which might sound like a lot, but Koji actually stores really well in the freezer and it's a little difficult to make smaller batches than this. And then we're going to soak this in 6 cups of water overnight. Now that our rice is fully soaked, we're going to strain it and then let it drain for about 10 minutes. And while things are draining, we'll go ahead and get set up with a steamer for steaming our rice. Now there's a variety of ways of doing this if you don't have a bamboo steamer, and I'll be sure to post some links down below in the description for this, but the reason we want to steam the rice rather than boil it is because we want the grains to be nice and separated from each other rather than clumped together, and we also don't want too much moisture. Otherwise, it won't be the ideal environment for the Koji to thrive, and things will just kind of become a wet, sloppy mess. And here I'm using a pre-moistened cloth in my bamboo steamer, and I'm just going to go ahead and put the rice right on top of that. Go ahead and fold the top and bottom portions of the cloth into the center of the steamer, then do the same with the sides. After that, just tuck the corners down into the steamer and put the lid on top. We'll be using medium-high heat for steaming our rice, but we'll wait to start a timer until the steam has started to make its way up through the center of the rice rather than just around the outside edges of the steamer. Once you see the steam coming up through the rice, go ahead and set a timer for 45 minutes to 1 hour. Now we want the rice to be very al dente and much firmer than we would want for just simply eating rice, but you should still be able to break the grains in half by pressing them between your fingers. Once the rice is done, give it a quick fluff with a fork, and we'll get ready to pour it into a baking dish to let it cool. Koji is kind of really cool because it's the perfect example of how fermentation is just creating the right environment for the right microbes. And the more you do it, the more confident you become. And before you know it, you've lost all your counter space to a bunch of microbial pets of various shapes, sizes, and flavors. It's really fun. Just maybe don't tell your roommates what they're in for. Let them experience the microbial witchcraft for themselves. Now that our rice is cooled below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, we need to prepare our culture by dispersing it in 2 tablespoons of rice flour that has been briefly toasted to sterilize it. You always want to go by the manufacturer's instructions for how much culture to add, so I'm using a ½ gram of Koji starter from Modernist Kitchen, and I'll put a link down below for that. Alright, we are so close to getting to the really fun part. We just need to put our rice in something that will help it hold a little moisture before putting it into our fermentation chamber. And my favorite cost-effective way of doing this is to just use a large Ziploc bag, and then take something like a chopstick or a skewer and poke a whole bunch of holes in it. Koji does need oxygen to grow, so be sure you're not skipping this step. Now we just need to add our rice. You also want to be sure you're using a container or a bag that will let you spread the rice out into a layer no thicker than about 1 inch. If you pile the rice too high, it'll eventually generate too much heat later in the fermentation process and will basically self-destruct and kill itself with that heat. After all your rice is in and spread into an even layer, go ahead and close it up and we'll get ready to prepare our fermentation chamber. Now this is one of the easiest and cheapest ways that I've been able to create the right environment for Koji. I'm using a 12-quart tote and I'll simply just be flipping it upside down. So I'm placing the lid down first, and since our goal temperature range is between 80 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm putting down a seedling heat mat next to be my heat source. I didn't realize until after filming this that VivoSun actually makes a heat mat with a temperature controller for about $30, so I'll put a link for that down below. But since I don't have the temperature controller and the mat can get up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm placing some hand towels down to act as a buffer to prevent the rice from getting too hot. Next, I'm placing the bag of rice right on top of those towels, and then I have a Bluetooth thermometer from Govi that was about $13 from Amazon, and this allows me to monitor both the temperature and the humidity without having to constantly open the chamber to check on things. And I'll just place that right next to the bag of rice, and I'll put a link for it down below as well. Next, I'm placing a damp tea towel on top of everything to help keep the humidity high enough. I don't really get too crazy with monitoring humidity, but if that's something that you'd like to monitor more strictly, then keeping things above 70% is usually sufficient. One more hand towel and I'll finally add the base of the tote. Now this last part might not actually be necessary, and it's obviously not going to snap to the lid with all the towels in the way, but I've had a lot of success doing it this way, but I also don't think adding the base will make or break your ferment, especially if you don't have a lot of space. So I'd hope to check on things at about hour 12 and have footage to show of what the rice looked like at that point, but unfortunately I ended up not feeling very well and was actually barely able to get around to things at hour 15, but we're going to go ahead and get things opened up and see what it looks like. And as you can see at this point, there's actually not a whole lot to see yet. It still just kind of looks like rice and there's not really any noticeable mold yet, but that's completely normal at this stage. We'll just go ahead and close everything back up again, keep an eye on the temperature, and then come back later to check on things again. Now one thing you might actually notice at this point is that your rice is starting to smell a little sweet or fruity, and that's actually the Koji working. And this is one way we can tell things are going to plan. Okay, now we're at hour 20 and we might finally start to see some growth on our rice. And yep, there it is. It's still fairly faint, but there's just a little bit of white starting to form, almost like a dusting of snow. And that fruity smell is even stronger at this point. We still have a little ways to go yet, as we're looking for a nice, solid white mat to bind the rice together, so we'll check the tea towel to see if it needs remoistened and then tuck things back in again. So a few hours later, I noticed that the temperature kept rising above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so I went ahead and unplugged the heat mat and placed the thermostat underneath the rice, especially because I knew that the aspergillus would start producing its own heat soon. Alright, we are at hour 34, and even though it can take up to 2 full days for the Koji to be done, I'm really pleased with how things look and smell at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and call it. It's a little hard to see here with the lighting, but the rice is now being held together by a nice white mat of mycelium, and that is exactly what we're wanting. Let's go ahead and get things opened up and take a closer look. You can see at this point that the individual grains of rice actually look fuzzy now, and that earthy, sweet, fruity smell is even more pronounced. Koji will store really well in the fridge for about a week, or you can either freeze it for later use or break it up and dehydrate it at 100 degrees Fahrenheit until it's completely dry. After dehydrating, just be sure to store things in an airtight container away from direct sunlight in a cool, dry, dark place. And there you have it! You made Koji.